Names like Tony Nancaro, Don Campbell, Malcolm MacArthur, and many more have served this club and their faith well. Indeed, it has been a pleasure to have these members and other guests like the Reverend Phil Hoffman and Reverend Joe Smith deliver a message of hope, support and faith at our Christmas lunch. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to have with us a great Australian who has served our state, the business world, charities, education and more so well. The biography of the Honourable Reverend Dr. Lynn Arnold AO has been circulated in the bulletin and online, so I won't repeat it here. It is an impressive read, I must say. Crikey, what an underachiever. Lynn has accepted our invitation to deliver today's Christmas message as a father, husband, grandfather and friend of many whose lives have been impacted in the past 2 years coping with COVID. Like many of us, he will hopefully be enjoying get-togethers with family from interstate, who he and Elaine have not been able to see and embrace for far too long. And this is the theme of gathering that Lynn will share with us today. Please welcome Dr. Lynn Arnold.
Well, thank you very much, President Paul and Lee and members of Rotary, Adelaide Rotary and visitors. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here today. I very much enjoyed being a member of this club for some years ago, and so it's very warm memories to come back and spend some time with you. And I particularly enjoyed the Rotary Choir just now. Thank you. That was quite inspiring. Really was very good. Yeah. So, as I say, thank you for inviting me. So let me begin with giving you my very best wishes for a very merry and happy occupational health and safety holiday on December the 25th. I know there's been some debate in our state parliament over the past couple of months over whether December the 25th should be regarded as a public holiday. The truth is that in many countries, Christmas Day was quite late in becoming a public holiday. I'm sure that you all know Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, either from having read the story or seen one of the many film versions that have been made. Let me quote from some of that story, extracts from the last chapter. "What's today, my fine fellow?" said Scrooge. "Today?" replied the boy. "Why, Christmas Day." "It's Christmas Day," said Scrooge to himself. "I haven't missed it. Hello, my fine fellow." "Hello," returned the boy. "Do you know the poulterers in the next street but one at the corner?" Scrooge inquired. "I should hope I did," replied the lad. "An intelligent boy," said Scrooge. "A remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there?" "Not the little prize turkey, the big one." "What, the one as big as me?" returned the boy. "What a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck. Go and buy it. I am in earnest. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here that I may give them the direction where to take it." Now, you know what happens next if you've read the book or seen the movie. The poulterer brings the massive turkey to Scrooge's door and is then instructed to take it by cab to Bob Cratchit's as an anonymous gift. It's a very sweet story, which ends well. But did you pick up the fact that the poulterer was open on Christmas Day? Charles Dickens wrote this story in 1843, so he reflected social reality of the time. The fact is that Christmas Day did not become a public holiday until quite late. Not only that, the festive event was actually opposed by many of the Protestant tradition. To give some examples, in 1640, the Parliament of Scotland banned Yule vacations due to being popish festivals. That act was repealed, but there continued a general Scottish indifference to the idea of Christmas for centuries, such that it didn't finally become a public holiday until 1958. Now, lest you might think all this represented excessive Scottish dourness, I should explain that throughout this period of effective Santa banning, the Scots had their very own hogmanay. So they really didn't need December the 25th to be raucous and filled with bonhomie. Even in the US, home of the original 1931 Coca-Cola ad, which bequeathed to the world the friendly, plump Santa that we now see around us today, there had been a long tradition of resistance to Christmas as a festival. From the earliest colonial days, Puritan objections to what was seen to be a pagan practice slowed growth in its popularity. Indeed, it wouldn't be the church that would eventually bring about a change. In the mid-19th century, Christmas would finally be declared a legal holiday in the more industrialised states, not due to religious lobbying, but because of commercial voices concerned at the skyrocketing rates of burnout since the onset of the Industrial Revolution, when people would work 7 days a week, every week of the year, necessitating a day off each year. And at the federal level, it would not be until June the 28th, 1870, that President Ulysses S. Grant would sign into law the declaration of Christmas Day as a legal, but unpaid, holiday for federal employees. So it was an occupational health and safety matter rather than promoting an act of joyous worship of God made man. So, once again, let me wish you a very merry and happy occupational health and safety this coming December the 25th. There is a strange irony in all this. Christmas as a non-religious gift to the community. Yet, today there is some thought that Christmas is under assault from the non-religious in our community, that they want to take away from us that which we Christians weren't apparently that keen on in the first place. In a December 2015 sermon I spoke about some of this hostility to the idea of Christmas. I quoted, this is what I said in the sermon. Yesterday it was reported that this Norwegian newspaper Aftenpost carried a death notice a couple of days ago that in translation read, "Our dear Father Christmas, born the 12th of December 1788, and no, I don't know what that date was, died on the 3rd of December in Nordkapp." The announcement, which was said to have come from the whole world, gave notice that a funeral would be held at the North Pole Chapel on the 28th of December. No cause of death was given. While in another part of the world, the government of President Islam Karimov of Uzbekistan announced that their version of Santa Claus, Father Frost, was out, to be excluded from the state media because it was a cultural imposition from the West. And we don't need to go globe-trotting for such stories. On November the 26th of that year, the biggest Christmas tree in southwest Sydney was firebombed. And just days ago, again this is 2015, in Victoria, a ministerial directive gave a secularly safe memo re such things as carols in schools. The following report about the directive appeared in The Age. A secular education is not devoid of everything that has a spiritual element, the advice says. It goes on to say that a mandala, an important part of Tibetan Buddhism, can be used in maths to learn about shapes and symmetry, and in art. Schools can also put up Christmas decorations and display a menorah, because these items have a secular cultural place in Australian society, but they are not allowed to display religious material. It was also reported that the directive banned hymns, though carols were okay. One suspected a school seeking to be safely within the directive's bounds would have included Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas and Deck the Halls as their chosen carols, in preference to O Holy Night or O Come Ye, All Ye Faithful. So secularists gave us Christmas Day, and now some of them seem to want to take it away again. However, whatever the course of history, what we do have today is an occasion where those of generous spirit may share together in a profound aspiration of goodwill and neighbourliness, gathering. Where the principles which I believe were made manifest by Emmanuel, God with us, in other words, Jesus, the incarnate Son of God, those same principles of goodwill and neighbourliness may also be received by those who do not share any faith or another faith. Rabbi Jennifer Schlossberg, who has non-Jewish relatives, has written, "Christmas has allowed me to make deep connections with loved ones who were part of my family. It was my way of recognising a deep part of who they were, even if it wasn't who I was. Christmas represented togetherness, kindness, and love. I believe it is those universal values that speak so deeply to me." While Imam W. Dean Muhammad in the US wrote a few Christmases ago, "May we embrace the wholesome expressions and good cheer and warm-hearted gifts in Christian society, and not to celebrate non-Islamic holidays. A Muslim gives the signal of affirmation to whatever is good in society, providing that Muslims' role in encouraging the good does not violate the law, principle, or spirit of al-Islam." Going beyond the realm of theists, here are the words of Joe Scribbles, a UK atheist. "Christmas is a big deal for me. It's important, it's special, and it's meaningful. As an atheist, the religious significance of Christmas doesn't hold any great weight, but it's still a sacred time of year. It has nothing to do with the presents, the big dinner, or the great TV. For me, the meaning of Christmas is love and family." Now, for me personally, Christmas is the remembrance of an event of cosmic significance, the moment when God, who created humankind in his own image, suddenly incarnated himself in the image of humanity. But while the rabbi, the imam, and the atheist who just walked into my speech may not agree with that, we would still share something of sacred value: the gathering together of people in a spirit filled with the aspiration of hope and goodwill. We were created a social species. John Donne, the 16th century metaphysical poet, had written these famous lines, which I'm certain you would know. "No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." The last verse of that poem goes, "Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee." Surely here then is the first fundamental concept of Christmas that can reach out, embracing everyone, regardless of their faith credo or absence of it. A concept that humanity has the gift of being able to show goodwill to others, and that society's well-being calls for it. The first commercial Christmas card was produced in 1843, commissioned by Henry Cole, designed by John Calcott Horsley. The centrepiece of the card was a gathering together of 3 generations of one family. This image was flanked on either side by 2 additional gatherings of people: the hungry needing to be fed, and the naked needing to be clothed, both evoking the inasmuch sermon of Jesus in Matthew 25. This then leads us to the second fundamental concept of Christmas. The original Santa Claus, St. Nicholas of Myra, has been through many transformations through the centuries up to his Coca-Colanisation in the 1930s. Michael the Archimandrite, in his Life of St. Nicholas, told of a devout man with 3 daughters who was defrauded of all his wealth and could not afford dowries for any of them, which, in the culture of the time, meant that they would remain unmarried, with a high likelihood of prostitution being their future. The story goes that Nicholas, not wanting to humiliate the family by a public offering of charity, went to the house at night and threw a purse filled with gold coins. Some say he threw it through the window, others say he threw it down the chimney. He repeated this 3 times, thus enabling all 3 daughters to have a dowry. The idea of charity at Christmas, therefore, has ancient origins. It was a theme continued to modern times. How many of you recall having a Christmas bowl on the Christmas table to receive the coins found in the Christmas pudding, which were then donated to charity? And I see a number of heads nodding. Or have chosen to send Christmas cards that support a charity. Charity is inextricably linked with Christmas traditions, but sometimes, and this is not a comment about Rotary, whose generosity and spirit of service is internationally deservedly famous, but sometimes that spirit of giving at Christmas seems to be a link that is weakening. As a community, in the past 21 months, have taken their toll, and it appears that those of us who can are determined to have a good one this Christmas. News.com.au has reported the following about a survey of our general level of expected spending. Aussies are set to shell out a whopping $23.9 billion on Christmas this year, with the average person expected to spend $1,232. Gifts are the top of the spending list, with Aussies expected to fork out $374 each on presents. Women on average will spend around 39% more on presents than men, and probably do it earlier and with better planning. That was my comment, not the news. Splurging $434 compared to $313. The research shows some Australians will also be having a boozy Christmas, spending $107 per person on alcohol over the silly season, a collective $2 billion across the country. Consumers are also expected to spend $308 on food and $174 on eating and drinking out. Alongside this report of expected Christmas feasting and general extravagance to make us feel better post-COVID, Food Bank Australia, in their 2021 Hunger Report, has stated that while food insecurity is a long-term experience for many, COVID-19 has caused others to experience it for the first time. In fact, more than 1 in 3 food insecure Australians during the last year had never experienced food insecurity prior to COVID-19. Let me put a human face to these figures. Here is a story of Kayla taken from the Anglicare SA website. Last year, Kayla was disciplined with her spending and quite rightly proud of herself. She had planned and used any extra money wisely, paying extra money on bills to get ahead, putting the kids' Christmas and birthday presents on lay-by. We're saving a little each pay and picking up a few extra hours at work. The positive start didn't last long. 2021 came along and has been so much harder for Kayla. She said, "I hate myself. There were a few nights I cranked up the heater, and when we all got sick thinking the extra I had paid on the electricity bill would be enough. I even fell asleep a couple of times and the heater ran all night. The extra was way over what I thought it would be, and having the kids at home more means we are using more electricity. So there goes that. When the extra hours at work dried up, my lay-bys were cancelled, costing $17 each time. I felt sick. I lost the sale items. I've got less to spend, and the toys are back to full price. I feel like I've let my kids down, and I feel sick every time I think about Christmas." Things started to get tighter when everyone at work lost hours and work became more competitive. My savings shrank each fortnight, and when we all got sick a second time round, that was it. I was not allowed to work until I'd had a negative COVID test, which took 2 days, and I had to take extra days off work to care for my kids. I'd been bottling everything up and pushing up through for so long. It was only then, when I had no food for my kids, that I was forced to reach out. I'd been skipping meals myself to make sure the kids had enough. But we all know you can't think clearly when you're hungry all the time. That was Kayla's story. Yet, donations to Anglicare and other charities are down so far this Christmas. I don't know, Mark, how it's going with Salvation Army. Yep, there we are, you see, and I've had that from other colleagues in other agencies too. I can't quote the global figures, but I can tell you that at St Peter's Cathedral, where we supply food hampers each Christmas to Anglicare to distribute, we are way down so far on the amount that we can fill. Now, I'm hoping that in the next 10 days we will catch that up, but it does not look like we will reach last year's figure, for example. And other charities are reporting the same downward trend in giving. Is this reduction in charitable giving a canary in the mine of decreasing human concern for others? Let me finish by returning to Charles Dickens and the final words of his A Christmas Carol. And it was always said of Scrooge that he knew how to keep Christmas well. That was after, of course, the 3 Christmases that he had been visited by. He knew how to keep Christmas well. If any man alive possess the knowledge, may that be truly said of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless everyone. How well do you know how to keep Christmas? Because of you, will Christmas be an everyone experience or just a private celebration? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arnold. I say it time and time again, but we just get the most amazing speakers to present to us, to give us so many really important messages, and I think today's was just fantastic. Thank you very much. Dr. Arnold, I've got a certificate of appreciation. I'll give it to you in a moment for your talk. Some of the money that will be raised today will go to Rotary Community and Youth projects, and your presentation helps make this possible, so thank you very much. Okay, everybody, enjoy a few minutes fellowship, and then we'll be back to talk about Paul Harris Fellows. Thank you.